Today you will meet Finn, a child who would not be alive and well if it were up to the radical left-wing legislature in Colorado. Finn's life was saved by a drug the legislature has forbidden healthcare providers to use if it is to save the life of an unborn child. This legislature not only wants abortion rights, it wants abortions, as many of them as it can get. This is the same legislature that decriminalized all Schedule I illicit drugs and enacted a right to try law that allows patients to take nearly any drug available that might save their lives. So you can go out and you can purchase and you can sell with very little risk deadly drugs that should be illegal, that are used strictly for fun and that get people killed, but you cannot take progesterone to save the life of an unborn child. Countless children are dead today because the legislature won't allow Colorado health practitioners, doctors, nurse practitioners, you name it, to prescribe progesterone to mothers who take an abortion-inducing pill and then change their minds. Those women have no right to choose whatsoever. In this episode, you will meet Finn's mother, Fallon, and you will meet the healthcare provider who saved Finn's life. You will also meet the great civil rights attorney Lewis Brown Jr., who fights to save children like Finn. Hit it, George.
Welcome to Wayne's World, rising above the noise and confusion.
It's Wayne's Word.
Oh.
We have two very special guests with us today. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourselves to our audience?
Yes, Wayne, thank you so much for having us. I'm Fallon, and this is my son, Finn.
Hello, Fallon and Finn. Finn, welcome.
Thank you. I just turned 6.
Yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. That's a very special day. It's your golden birthday.
Yep.
So what'd you do?
I went to the zoo, saw a baby orangutan.
A baby orangutan. What else did you see there?
A mama orangutan, and the monkey kept falling, and the baby one tried to help the mama.
Oh, did he help the mama? So
Yeah.
you're 6 years old. It's your golden birthday. What'd you get for presents? Did you get any?
A baby orangutan that hooks around your neck.
Have you ever thought about what you want to be when you grow up?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a little early, isn't it? Age 6. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you learning do you ride a bicycle or a trike?
I now know how to ride my bike.
Oh, do you? When did you learn that?
When I was 5.
When you were 5, just before you turned 6?
Mm-hmm.
Was it hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra
Fall
hard.
down a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What do you like to do in your free time?
Vinny caught his first fish a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, did
we
ya?
went fishing for the first time, and 20 minutes into it, he caught a fish.
Well,
It's
fantastic.
like instant gratification, huh, kid?
Yeah, I need to stop getting that sometimes.
Well, it's very special to meet you. I thank you for being here. You're kind of a miracle child, and I'm going to talk with your mom and some other adults who know you about that. And congratulations on your golden 6th birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wish I could have been there to celebrate it with you. Have a great rest of your day, Finn.
Thank you.
Okay. You ever hear a story that makes you sit up and think, if he can do it, why not me? Scott Riopel built his life from scratch. No handouts, just hustle. Now he runs Interstate Roofing, part of the One Solutions family, and he's showing others the path out. If you're ready to change your life, follow him on Facebook and Instagram at big_Scott303. This isn't just roofing, this is a way up. With us today are Dede on my left and Fallon over here. And Dede and Fallon, thank you for joining us in the Wayne's Word studio today. It was a delight to meet Finn this morning. What
Thank
a
you.
great child. He just brightens up any room he walks into.
He really
He's
does.
just-
He's amazing.
yeah, and he's not shy around adults or anything like that. And Dede, you are a nurse practitioner,
Yes.
prescriber. I want to hear about your relationship, how you two know each other. But let's start with how Finn came into this world.
So they go hand in hand, because it wasn't long before I found out about Finny that I met Dede. And love this lady. She's amazing. She gave me my whole life. She gave me my son's life, which is my life. But when I was 25, I found out that I was pregnant with Finn. And it was a huge surprise. His dad and I were just two people that never should have been together, but we were. And we have a beautiful son because of it. He was very angry and very upset that I was pregnant, and he was from the beginning very opinionated and very forceful about me aborting him. And I loved Finn the moment I found out, and I wanted him so badly, but I just had his dad and so many people telling me that I couldn't do this, that I was unfit to be a mom, like my life was going to be ruined.
How old were you at the time?
25.
25. So
25.
no reason you couldn't be a mom at age 25.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And to confirm my pregnancy, I actually went to my regular OBGYN, but they did not do pregnancy. So it's just to confirm the pregnancy and everything, where actually there's a woman who worked there that I really liked a lot. And she was like, "Oh yeah, like you can have an abortion. It's no big deal. I've had 3 of them." And I'm like I'm distraught right now. I'm crying. Like I'm looking for somebody to help me, to encourage me that I can do this. Like I've got enough people telling me I can't do this. And they were just like, "Oh yeah, like it's no big deal."
So you had a boyfriend and he impregnated you, and he was very coercive, I understand. Tell me about his coercive tactics and what, or if you need to talk to me about what led up to that,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So there was just a bunch. So in the beginning, like when I first told him I was pregnant, he told me that I wasn't, that I was lying about that the baby wasn't his. And he didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks, completely like just ghosted me and would have nothing to do with me. So that's when I turned to friends of mine. Their names are Adam and Cassie, and Adam used to work for Dede, and they've had lots of babies through Bella, and just really wonderful people and great friends. And that's when I got connected with Dede and went to Bella. And I was just bawling my eyes out in their waiting room because I was just so sad and so scared. And just 2 wonderful women that worked there at the front counters. They were bringing me tea and just loving on me.
And what did Bella Health bill itself as when you got there? What did you think it was?
I just thought it was an OBGYN office, just
Okay.
that was able to deliver a baby.
Okay.
Because,
And that is indeed the case. Is that right? Dede?
Yes, we were doing family medicine by then
Okay.
as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I wasn't like, I didn't know that they were faith-based. Like, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know the extent of everything.
Mhm.
And nor did I learn any of that until further on in my pregnancy, because it wasn't about the faith to begin with. It was just about me, and it was about my son.
Mhm.
But I go back, and they have a wonderful, phenomenal sonographer, and her name's Amanda. And Amanda was just so loving, and she's a ray of sunshine. And if I would have had anyone else but Amanda, I probably would have walked out, because I was just in a very scared and vulnerable state where I just needed nothing but love and support, and that's exactly what I got. And Amanda scanned me, and we got to see Finn, and I was just so upset. And this is how I met Dede, is I was just sitting on the bed crying, and Dede comes in, and I don't know this woman at all. I've never met her, and she just scoops me up and hugs me, and I'm just sitting there bawling, and here's this amazing woman that I don't know, that just held me and let me cry. And she was the first person to explain all my options to me, what giving birth would look like, what giving him up for adoption would look like, what abortion would look like. She is the only person who took the time to explain all of my choices to me.
You had been to another clinic before this.
Yes, and they were pretty much like, "Oh, like you and your boyfriend are like unstable, like just go have an abortion. Like don't do this to you, don't do this to him, don't do this to the kid. Like just go do it. It's not a big deal."
And they didn't, did they do an ultrasound or any way
They
to show
couldn't.
you?
They didn't. Nope, it was just a urine
Okay.
or blood. I'm pretty sure it was urine, just confirmation.
And
just,
what kind of place was this? Can you
just
say?
OBG.
Okay,
But
just
they
regular.
didn't do. They didn't do. You can probably speak up this.
Yeah, just like an HCG. They just didn't do like blood work to confirm the pregnancy. But a urine test is enough to say that you're pregnant.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they didn't do any. They didn't deliver babies or anything, so they were more just like gynecology stuff. So if just routine appointments, but they didn't have anything to do with like helping a woman through a pregnancy or supporting her or then delivering the baby. So that I would have to go somewhere else, even if I wanted to stay with them, just because that's not something they offered.
Okay.
And you were really, at that point, so conflicted because you had this boyfriend who was pushing so hard for an abortion. You, very new in your pregnancy, loving your baby, but I just remember you being this just so conflicted, and especially when he, threatened his life for.
Yep.
To maybe describe that a little. I'm probably not describing that as well, but then I don't know if that was before or after you had taken the abortion pill.
So before I took it, because that's just like how I met Dede and everything, just to confirm Finn's life and everything. But from there, the manipulation just got really, really horrible. Like Dede was saying, he threatened to kill himself. He threatened to take his life. He said I was ruining his life. He offered me trips to abort him. He offered to get me a breast enlargement surgery to abort him. We went to the Broadmoor to go to the zoo lights, and he was like kept getting me trying to drink and everything, just like, oh, have a drink with me, just any manipulation tactic, he used it.
Anything he thought might put an end to this pregnancy
Yep.
to prevent
Yep.
Finn from
He
continuing
threatened
to
me
live.
that if I like continued with my pregnancy, that he would take Finn and I would never see him, even though he didn't want him. Like I said, literally anything and everything you can think of, he tried. And it's just, he broke me as a person. He broke me down to nothing.
Which probably is what brought you to the abortion clinic.
And that's where I finally got there. So during all of this time, this was probably a 3-4 week span, I literally went to Bella almost every day for an ultrasound, just because of how mean and vicious he would get, that Dede knew that I needed to see my baby to stay grounded. And I would text Dede or Amanda and just be like, can I come in? Like, I need to see him. I just need to see my baby. So I got lots of ultrasounds with them and got to just see him at every stage, like almost every day, just see the growth and the change. And it's so beautiful because most women don't get that experience at all. They get maybe 4 ultrasounds total, and I probably had 50.
Yeah.
Probably not that
So you
much,
have to
but
see
a
every
lot.
day of development.
Yeah, like it was, and it's just remarkable. And there was just this time, and I'll never forget this. It just got really bad with him, and at this point, I met Abby, and I went into Bella, and I was with Amanda, Dede, and Abby, and we were looking at Finn, and he was 12 weeks old, and usually you don't know the baby's gender until 20. And they knew that I was, like, he just broke me in every way. Like, I loved my baby, but I thought the best way to love him was to give him back to God. That I couldn't do this, that I was, no matter how hard I tried, I would never be enough for that little kid. And I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at this point. And Dede and Abby and Amanda just knew I was broken, and it was probably like I was going to have an abortion. But I went in and I talked to him because they asked me to come in and just to scan and make sure, like, physically I was okay, that the baby was okay. And up until this point, we actually thought Finn was a girl. We were all very convinced for whatever reason. We just felt like he was a girl. And I remember this because I was walking out of the room and they knew the gender. And I'm like, Abby, it's like, what is it? And she's like, it's a little boy. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart. Because I now knew I had a son that I loved so much. But it was just, like, when you were just broken down to nothing like that, you can't see up, you can't see down, you don't see anything anymore.
You're just engulfed in fear.
You're just engulfed in fear and self-doubt and just in this huge spiral of, like, I can't do this. Not that I don't want to do this, it's just the whole world is against me right now, besides Bella.
Other than Bella,
Other
your
than
boyfriend, did he find out this was a boy? Did you?
I
ever tell
did.
him?
So,
Okay.
like I said, he was just pressuring me, and I told him, I was like, this is a little boy, and he didn't care. Like, he's like, I don't want to know this stuff. So I made an appointment with CU abortion clinic. So just keep in mind that the previous day, like, we saw Finn so crystal clear that Amanda could pin his gender 8 weeks before the average baby gets their gender. Like, that's how
Yeah.
like clear he was on the ultrasound. So I made this appointment at this clinic, and I go in and I'm bawling, and they don't care. So this was prior to COVID too. They're behind this glass plexiglass thing. So they're completely separated. They're like, it's like treating everyone like they're criminals. You just walk in, you feel this heaviness, and they're like opening the sliding door to give people paperwork and stuff. And I'm sitting out there, and I'm crying, I'm bawling, and they don't care. They're back there laughing, joking around. Nobody asked me if I'm okay, anything. And I don't say this in a mean way, but these women just looked so ugly on the inside and outside. It just felt so evil of just like here someone is so distraught, and you guys are back there joking and laughing around, like,
As if you're not even there.
as I'm not there. And like I said, treating everyone like they're criminals, like they're behind glass, and you have to like slide the door open to even communicate with these people. And I'm like, what is this? So they give me the forms to fill out and everything. And again, this is one of those things that I'll never forget, that will always stick in my mind, is there's a box that checks, are you sure you want to do this? And I checked no. They never asked me about it. So my baby's father finally showed up, and paperwork and everything was done. And we go back to the room and everything. And they have to take blood. And Dede can speak on this because they need to check your blood to make sure you're not a certain blood type.
Right. They just wanted to know what your blood type was if they needed to give you medication after the abortion.
And they actually lost my blood. So they call me days later and be like, hey, we lost your blood. Can you come back? And I'm like, how do you lose somebody's blood? So, I mean, that's just, again, that's skipping ahead, but that just kind of shows you just the lack of professionalism that they had. So we go back and everything. And again, the nurse or the doctor, I don't remember her title, she came back, and again, so cold and so just removed from everything. And they do an ultrasound. And at this point, like, they can do an over my stomach ultrasound. I don't have to have the vaginal ones anymore. And I went there and I had Finn's dad go with me, like, hoping that that would be my saving grace. Like, if he could just see his son up on that screen, to see his little body, to just see everything, that, like, it would change his heart. Like that this is a baby. Like, you can see a head at 12 weeks. You can see the hands, the torso, like all the propaganda out there is just, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but it's bullshit. Like, it is just,
feel free.
It is totally not true. Like, I have been in both settings of, like, a faith-based and the abortion clinic. Like, I get not the privilege, but I got to see both sides.
Yeah.
And it's just night and day difference.
In this clinic, of course, Bella Health did not present itself as some sort of, they didn't hit you over the head with religion.
No, not
when
at
you
all.
Walked in the door
I didn't even
for a long time,
know
right?
how beautiful and pure and deep their faith was until months into my pregnancy. Like, it was never.
They weren't preaching it, they were living it.
No, it was never, like, they had faith behind the scenes, but it was never faith in front of me. Like, they prayed for me, they did all of that in the shadows, but it was never forced down my
So if you were in there, you went in there and you're an avowed atheist, and you find a religion and religious belief offensive, you wouldn't have felt any of that.
No.
You would not have been offended.
No.
Okay.
Like, no, not at all. Like, I didn't even know where the chapel was, because it's not hidden, but it's just so beautifully designed. And Dede and Abby were so intentional about everything. And again, this is stuff that I've learned over the years because it wasn't shoved in my face. And after spending so much time with them and just hearing how much prayer and thought and love they've put into every piece of furniture there, down to the washcloths. Like, it's just, the amount of love that they've put into Bella is just, words will never be able to describe that. But back to the abortion clinic. So we were there, and they're doing the ultrasound over my stomach.
And the boyfriend is here now,
Yes,
right?
and he's there. And we cannot even see Finn. He is a white smudge. He is fuzzy and you can't see him. And keep in mind, the previous day, I saw him so crystal clear that the sonographer could tell me his gender. And then the following day at the abortion clinic, because they have faulty equipment on purpose.
Fraudulent ultrasound.
I could not even see him.
Now, I've had 6 children with my wife, and we had ultrasounds on all of them. The youngest, we got one of these 3D or 4D full color, put it in a frame. I will tell you that when I see an ultrasound of one of my children, and we do see them along the way, like you're talking about, probably not as much as you did. But I know that child when the child is born.
Yeah.
I know the look of the child. I'm not surprised by anything.
Nope.
And that child, my youngest is 16 today,
Yeah.
and I knew that child's face when he was in the womb, and it never changed.
Nope.
But you go to the abortion clinic and you get a white fuzz.
Yep. And like I said, it was, I wish I had that ultrasound so I could, like, literally show everyone, because I've got the one of, like, Finn at 12 weeks where you can just see everything. Like, again, that small, and to be able to say the gender, and then the following day to not even be able to make out the baby's head. It's like, what is this? And I'm like, this was supposed to be my saving grace, for him to see his son and realize that this is a baby and to have a change of heart. And at that point, I just felt so defeated. I'm like, I was already giving up, and not giving up on Finn, but giving up on myself. And and just knowing that I could do this. And that was just the straw that broke the camel's back of like, you guys were supposed to help me. You guys are supposed to be for women. And where were you when I needed you? Nowhere. So
And they show your boyfriend a white blob.
Mhm.
So this has none of the desired effect
Yep.
that you were hoping he would see. You have a baby,
Yep.
baby boy growing in me, and he didn't get to see that.
Nope. So then at that point, like I get dressed and she's prescribing I cannot say this word. I'm going to let Dede say it. What is
Mifepristone.
Mifepristone? Thank you. And
This is the abortion clinic.
yes.
Okay.
And
So
it was
Mifepristone is the first of the 2 abortion pills. It's a 2-part.
yes.
It's a 2-part procedure.
Okay.
And they're prescribing it, and it was like $500, and his dad paid for it. And his dad and the nurse practitioner, the doctor, were trying to get me to take it in the office, and I'm like, no, I will not take this here. And they're like, well, no. She's like, you need to take it here. And I'm like, I do not need to take this here. Like, I do know my rights. I do not have to take this here. I'm not comfortable taking this here. Like, we paid for this. You can send it home with us. Like, I'm not taking these first set of pills in this office. And finally, she agreed to let me, and this was back in 2018, she agreed to let me, like, take them home and everything. So after we left and everything, 2 separate vehicles, we go to Target, pick up things that I might need for a miscarriage is what they like to call it. And then we go back to his place. And again, I try one last attempt to talk to him. I'm like, can we just have a conversation? Like, that this is a baby, like, this is what I want to do. Like, if you don't want to be part of this, like, that's fine. Like, you were off the hook financially, responsibility, like, won't put you on the birth certificate. Like, just leave us alone. Like, leave us in peace, and you can just go live your life. We will live ours. Like, we can just cut the ties. And it just turned into a screaming match, and then I ended up leaving. And that was a Friday night. So then on Saturday, we talked a little bit. He came over, hung out with me for the day, and we just spent the entire day in my room. And again, I just felt so broken and so manipulated that I put the first set of pills in my hands, sitting in my bed, and there's 2 of them, and they're white and small. And again, one of those just vivid images, and I just remember for so long, probably like half hour, I just stared at him like, I don't want to do this.
This is not a particularly religious feeling on your part or anything.
No,
it's just
this
you
was
as a
so
child.
I wanted this baby so, like, I loved him so much, and it's like, I don't want to do this. And I just felt so broken and so defeated that I finally, like I said, after staring at him for like 30 minutes, I finally swallowed him. And it was the hardest thing I've ever had to swallow. Like, just
Did you take them both, or you took them?
so you take so it's a 2-step process. The first step is taking 2 pills, and then after like 24 hours, 48 hours later, you take 5 pills.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. And so I finally took him, and like I instantly regretted it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have to find a way to undo this. So I was like, I texted Dede, where Dede was at Seek with her, Seek with her amazing husband, Ken, who he's a huge part of the story as well. But he comes later. And I told Dede what happened, and they weren't here, but Abby was here. And I just finished out the day with Finn's dad, and I was like, okay, like, the soonest I can come in is Sunday. Like, I just need him not to know. Like, I hated lying. I hated being that person, but I needed to remove him from the situation and just have him believe that this was over, because I needed to just not have that in my head anymore. And I needed to make the best decision for my son and I, because like, this wasn't helping anymore. So I was texting Dede, where Dede had hundreds of people praying for us. And again, I didn't know this at the time, and this comes at a later date. I found all of this out as something that's, again, sticks into my head is Dede was praying and she's talking to God, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're upset and pretty frustrated of why does this baby have to die? And it was just something very profound, even back then, that just the relationship, it's like we're all meant to be together forever. And Dede got a hold of Abby. Abby and I were texting, and Abby met me at Bella on her day off on a Sunday, like, no questions asked. And
Abby is
Dede's daughter.
Dede's daughter, and she is also a nurse practitioner.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And
they can do
she's
almost anything a doctor does.
Yep,
Yeah,
and she's also the co-founder of Bella as well.
right. Okay.
And just Abby's so beautiful on the inside, outside. Like, to know Abby is to love her. Like, she has that presence about her of just, I mean, you're like, you get it. Like, I'm looking at you like, you know this feeling. Like, Abby just has such a presence about her where you just hug her, you see her, and you instantly feel better. And I met her at Bella, and that's what I got, of just sitting with her on the couch. And there's actually a very beautiful video that Bella made that they hired an actress to play me, and they, Lux Lab, the people who did the film, they just captured everything so well. And even though it's not me in there, like, that is exactly what happened with Abby. Like, you can see it as a video, and Abby was just so loving and so kind. And I was like, Abby, I don't know what to do. Like, I love this baby, but I can't keep doing this with him. Like, it's so hard. Like, I don't know which way's up anymore. And Abby's like, okay, like, let's just go back and see the baby. Like, let's just check on him. Let's just start something so simple. But Abby's smart. And Abby knew what I needed without me knowing what I needed. And I've never heard Finn's heartbeat before. And Abby had the ultrasound machine sound on. And it was, we saw him, and then I just, boom, boom, boom. And that is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard in my whole life. Like, to hear his heartbeat, it was perfect. Like, the medication didn't do anything to me because I didn't take the second set of pills that started, like,
But
me
this first
contracting.
set could have, correct?
To my
Dede, what's your thought? Medical.
Yes. So the first set of pills can definitely be effective, and I think that's probably maybe half to 2/3 of the time it can work. I've definitely seen it work a lot in the earlier part of pregnancy. That medication can be so powerful, and if a woman has a baseline low progesterone, which we never know who has enough or not enough, that's a reason why many women lose their babies anyway. But when people have a low progesterone, I mean, or even not, because the mifepristone blocks the progesterone. Progesterone is what builds up a healthy lining in the uterus and helps nourish the baby, and the mifepristone blocks that, and it very quickly causes that inside of the uterus to shed. So women will start to cramp and they will bleed. I've had many women not get to my office in time.
So there was a good chance that you would not have heard that heartbeat that day, having taken that first drug.
Yes, and we had actually seen his heartbeat because you can see that at earlier times. You just want to, she had a lot of ultrasound, so you minimize how much exposure you have. We want to have her have enough exposure so she can see her baby, be reassured. But we want to limit, overall. Ultrasound's very, very safe, very, very safe.
Right.
But you want to just be appropriate with it. And so we definitely been able to calculate Finn's heartbeat for some time. But this was the first time she had heard it. Was in this.
And you have taken this first set of pills.
Yes.
And have you taken anything else at that
Nope.
point? No, she took you back. You heard the heartbeat.
Yep.
You had already familiarized yourself with the way Finn looked, with his face and
Yep.
his.
And he looked great. He was moving it around great in there. Like, nothing was wrong. Like, he was perfect. Like, it was amazing. And, like, as soon as I heard that heartbeat, I was like, okay, Abby, whatever I need to do to save his life, like, tell me what I need to do. And that's when I had to start doing progesterone injections. And they're, like, right here on your lower hips, kind of like where all your fat is. And 2 injections. And the deal that Abby, like, made with me was, like, you have to give me the other 5 pills. And I was happy to do it. Like, here you go. Like, because they didn't want, like, they're being very, she's being very safe about it because of, like, trying to mix everything. So again, she was like, this is for your safety. Like, if we're going to do the reversal, like, we need to not introduce these then. Like, if you change your mind, we have to have that conversation then.
Yeah.
So again, it was just to keep me safe. It wasn't like, well, now you can't change your mind. It was like she was always putting my well-being above everything.
Has to be done in a medically correct way.
And not
if you're
just
gonna
like
do that.
bouncing back and forth and letting patients like take this and take that. And it was just
Right, because you're in a state of psychological mental trauma at this point.
yeah.
You have a baby who this is a child.
Yeah.
This is your child.
Mhm.
And the world is pressuring you, including you're the closest person to your boyfriend, to
Yeah.
terminate, to kill
Yeah.
this child,
Yeah.
kill Finn.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens after you hear the heartbeat? She takes the other pills
Yep. And then
as a safety precaution.
there was another nurse,
Takes them
Marissa,
away
there.
from you.
And so it's easier on me. Both had a syringe, and both one on each hip. Then her and gave me the injections. And then after that,
And these injections were
progesterone.
progesterone.
So oftentimes, especially back at that time in 2018, we would start the procedure with progesterone injections, and then they would move to vaginal progesterone. So every person is different. You need to adjust the progesterone to what's appropriate for the given person and what they can tolerate, whether that's vaginally, orally, or through injections. And so for Fallon, we did injections. And the other thing, too, that is really important to recognize is that because the father of Finn was still in the picture, as much as Fallon did not want him in the picture, she still saw him regularly, much to her dismay. He still was pressuring her a lot. And it was better for her well-being to not have the second set of pills, so that it didn't so she didn't get herself in the other situation again of just being at the end of a rope and just not knowing what else to do but to take them. And those second pills are very, very powerful. The first pills compromise the baby's implantation in the uterus. The second pills, once you've got that compromised and the uterine lining is loosened up some, then you introduce something that can cause big, hard contractions to expel the baby. And so it was best for Fallon as well that if she was going to change her mind and wanted to take the second set, that there was a pause between the panic or whatever was happening with the father of the baby, that she could drive down to Bella, that she could think about that decision versus be in a moment that we couldn't recover from.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to deliver a baby one way or another. At this point, it's going to be dead or
true.
alive, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
And so you took the progesterone, and what happened after that?
It was every other day,
Yeah, there was a regular protocol. So she continued taking progesterone for her case. Because
And this is what's known as the abortion reversal drug.
Correct. So abortion reversal drug, keep in mind, progesterone is a normal hormone of pregnancy. It's the hormone that all women have anyway. So it's the hormone that goes up after ovulation because it prepares the body every single month for pregnancy. And then if a pregnancy has not occurred during ovulation, then that progesterone drops down. And when it gets down to nothing, then the uterus sheds it out, and that's a menstrual period. So that happens every single month. The body is made to be prepared for conception and a baby every single month.
And this hormone, as I understand it, that has become so controversial and the target of law, this is used in juvenile sex change procedures, as I understand. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar a lot with all the different hormones that they're using in the sex change situations, but they are using the opposite hormones for whichever direction, they're trying to transition, a child or an adult to. So the hormones of, the opposite gender are the hormones that are being used. When we talk about the progesterone, though, such a natural part of our lives, part of a woman's life, it's also when we see women who are at risk for miscarriage, or maybe they've lost several babies in the past, or perhaps they've struggled with infertility and are now pregnant. We follow the exact same protocol with this progesterone to enhance and help pregnancy be in its most optimal state to be a successful pregnancy.
So this is not some marginalized, spooky drug that it's used for all sorts of off-label and on-label uses, correct, in medicine?
Correct. And when we talk about that and we look at our situation with Colorado, is they're saying I can give this same dose to a woman who might be at risk for miscarriage, or a woman who's lost a few babies, or a woman who's had infertility, or perhaps a woman who's taken a different medication that could block progesterone. But if she's taken mifepristone, then it is unprofessional conduct. There are fines involved, and potentially could
If taken it for the reason that Fallon took it.
Yes.
Is now so this brings us to Senate Bill 190, the infamous bill passed by the legislature, signed into law by Governor Jared Polis in 2023, that made what you did unlawful. Says that that's unprofessional conduct.
Yes.
So my son's life is now unlawful.
Right. They broke the law to bring about this beautiful child who we just met a little bit ago, who I just met a little bit ago, Finn. And that was illegal now. It wasn't at the time.
Correct.
But now to do that would be illegal according to this state law.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So after you take this now outlawed medication, your pregnancy went along normally?
Yeah, there's nothing, like, healthy,
Beautiful pregnancy.
beautiful. Like, he was always great, perfectly measuring where he needed to be. Like, it was always
Had a beautiful birth
Mhm.
6 years ago yesterday.
Yep. And the people that were with me from the very moment, Dede and Abby, they were in the room with me. Like, it was so beautiful that these two women fought so hard to get this child here. But once he was here, they didn't just say, okay, we got the baby here, see you later. Like, they were there when he was born. Like, there's a beautiful picture that a friend of mine that we used to work for Bella, Zoe, captured. And it's so great because it was instantly like Dr. Hodak put Finn on my chest. So Finn's here, Dede's here, Abby's here, and the pure love and joy on their faces. It was just, it's one of those things that it captured our whole 9 months of this just so well. And it was just so beautiful to see their reactions to Finn when he was born. And again, these are two women who 6 years later, we are part of their family. Like, we go to Christmas with them. We're part of the Christmas drawing. Like, we're part of all the big events, like birthdays, funerals. Like, we're part of everything now. And I'm so lucky and so fortunate that my son gets these people and gets to call them family, and then I get to. Like, they
Yes.
gave me a whole new life.
And the only reason I know either of you is because I met you, Dede, at a child's baptism reception a
Correct.
couple weeks ago. And I could tell that you're just you're more than a health and wellness clinic. You were in the lives of all of these families with children. And so tell me a little about what Bella Health does, aside from counseling women on their options, abortion, adoption, live birth. What else do you do? And you actually deliver babies. I mean,
Correct.
you could go into your clinic and from the start of a pregnancy, and you'll take them through the whole to the labor and delivery and beyond.
Yes. So we are a multi-specialty practice. So our practice does full OBGYN. So we care for women throughout their pregnancies. We deliver. We have an entire fertility program to help women who are trying so desperately to get pregnant. And our approach in just about everything that we do, is a far more natural approach than what we find in regular medicine. And we're always going to the root of the problem. So we have excellent surgeons who specialize in reproductive health. We also have a full family medicine program. We have pediatricians. We have internal medicine, functional medicine, entire wellness program. We will see 50,000 patient visits this year at Bella. We are opening our first big expansion in Bismarck, North Dakota, before the end of the year. And it's very exciting. We thought when we opened Bella almost 11 years ago, it would just stay a little OBGYN clinic. And the Lord just had plans far bigger than what we could have ever imagined or asked for. And we also didn't know when we opened the practice about abortion pill reversal. I didn't know until we were open about 3 or 4 weeks. And I received a call from a nurse hotline who said, hello, I have a senior in high school who has taken the abortion pill and has changed her mind. Could you help her? And had never heard of it before, but my specialty was high-risk pregnancies. I had spent nearly 2 decades prior to that helping women maintain their pregnancies.
And this now is a high-risk pregnancy because this person has taken the pill. Now it's a high-risk pregnancy.
Yes,
Yeah.
but outside that, as a perinatal nurse practitioner, I understand hormones, how the body works. And so I said, sure, I can help her. Have her come down to my office in the next hour. And so I did need to kind of look through and see what would be the best tactic and learn her history. And I actually just talked to that young woman. She was a senior in high school, she went to receive the abortion because she had the most amazing college scholarship where she had a bachelor's to master's scholarship at the University of Denver. And she was first generation U.S. American citizen. And she was like, I can't disappoint my family this way. But then she and her boyfriend that night thought it would be better to disappoint the family. It would be better to go through college with a baby than what it feels like right now to kill a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to that mom just actually last night, just happenstance. She does have her master's in counseling. She has a private practice now. Her daughter is about to be 10 and is in a gifted and talented program.
So this did nothing to interrupt her plans as a scholar.
It didn't. She did defer her scholarship for a year because she was having a baby in the middle of the school year. But she was just telling me last night, she said, when people say this is rogue, that this is fake, she was saying with her little 10-year-old, she said, there is nothing fake or rogue about abortion pill reversal. Using progesterone to save a pregnancy, there's nothing fake or weird or rogue about it.
Well, we have a legislature in this state that is, I call it a very far left socialistic legislature. A lot of these people, you say, well, they are elected, so they represent, not really. A lot of these hard left Democrats are appointed. The Democratic machine knows how to get someone to step out of a position so they can appoint the replacement and then have that person run as an incumbent. So we have a legislature that's far left. It's radically left.
Yes.
Far left of the Colorado population, as liberal as Colorado is.
Yeah.
And this legislature passed a law that says a health care provider engages in unprofessional conduct or is subject to discipline in this state if the health care provider provides, prescribes, administers, or attempts medication, abortion, reversal in this state, unless, and it goes on and on and on. But what you did to save Finn, who made my day, by the way, when I met him, and I'm sure that anyone who meets this child is going to have a brighter day within just 30 seconds of being in this child's presence.
That is the charisma
That
of Finn.
child is basically a crime, according to the state. What happened to bring Finn, to keep Finn alive, is a crime.
Yep.
No.
But they've also minimized it to now a pregnant woman is a consumer. That is how the law is written, is that we as pregnant women are consumers.
Do you feel like as a consumer that you're the victim of unprofessional trade practice and that you were violated by this?
Not at all.
I wouldn't think so.
No, and that was, we were speaking about this on the way down, and Bella, who is a faith-based clinic and religious and all of that, and they have their beliefs and everything, and they're getting persecuted for those beliefs, and they're getting called intolerant, loons, Bible thumpers, whatever you want to throw at them. And they're saying that they're manipulating and coercing women and everything. And it's like, whoa, I was on both ends of the spectrum. I went to both clinics, and Dede was the only person who broke down all of my options. She didn't agree with all of the options because of her faith, but she's the only person who explained them to me. in medical terms that I would understand, that your option is to continue with the pregnancy. This is what that would look like. Your options are adoption. That's what this would look like. Your options are abortion. Up until this point, you can do the pill. Then that pill is no longer feasible because of how the pill works. And then it would be this procedure or this procedure. And she is literally the only person who explained all of this to me. Yeah. So at the abortion clinic, like I said, everything was so removed. There's no feelings. Nobody cared. Like, it was just a job. It was just going through the motions. I checked that box. They never followed up on that. They didn't even follow up days later to see if I took the pills they prescribed. Like, there was no follow up at all. And like I said, they had the faulty equipment. They didn't care that I was upset. They just were just like, another patient, like, get him in, get him out. Like, it was crap. It was a lie. I could see Finn clearly the day prior to then going to the abortion clinic and nothing. And again, I believed in God at this point. I wasn't part of all of this in the big sense I am now. It was just a random third-party person experiencing two different things. And what I find really comical, but not in a funny ha-ha way, but in a very sad way, is I was part of, I did a testimony before the bill was signed into law about just sharing my experience, and I was listening to other people speak and everything like that. And when I heard these lawyers or these politicians or whoever going up there and speaking against Dede and Abby and all these other faith-based clinics about manipulation and forcing women, scare tactics, I was like, whoa, you're not describing Bella, you're describing the abortion clinic I went to. Like, everything you guys are saying they are, that abortion clinic was. It wasn't Bella. I received nothing but kindness and love and support at Bella, and nothing but just dismissal there. Nothing but, I don't care about you. I don't care about your situation. I just want you to take this pill and go home and
We
not be
just
my
need to end
problem.
Finn's life,
Yeah.
one way or another.
Yeah,
and,
no.
and yet that is the practice that is upheld and valued, that the legislature thinks is great, whereas the legislature passed a law to outlaw the way you practice,
Correct.
the way that brought about this life,
Yeah.
that you were willing to carry.
Yeah. And also one of the other false narratives is that they really have is that these faith-based clinics just care about getting the baby here and then not our problem anymore.
I've heard that many times.
And that is not what I've experienced at all. And it's not just with Dede and Abby and the family. It's everybody at Bella. Like, I have lifelong friends now. I have a community now. Like, my son goes to school with some of the providers' kids at Bella. Like, it's just one big family and loving community that we were able to become part of because of Dede and Abby. And it's just like, when I hear these stories, it breaks my heart because it's like, this wasn't my situation at all. Like, that's not what happened to me at all. I received nothing but, like I said, kindness, love, and support. And it wasn't even that they were trying to get Finn born. It was that they valued me, me as a person. Like, of course they loved my son, but they were putting me first and hearing me. And it was just very sad to be on that call. And I wish people like Governor Polis would reach out to someone like me and be like, hey, before I sign this bill, what do you have to say?
Nobody did they?
No, not at all.
And I don't think anything like that would ever happen. When I think about our practice, where we do see a lot of patients, we're a big practice now, and we try to keep that same loving touch and excellence as one of our pillars.
Yeah.
That excellence always, the highest professional care. One should never have to compromise their faith because of their care, but no one should ever have to compromise their care because of their faith either. And I think that when we look at this, bill, I think that, first of all, I think that it is imperative that when our constitutional rights are being violated, that we don't just curl up in the fetal position and pray that this will go away with the next election cycle, or just close our eyes to it. Like, we need to be strong enough and brave enough to say, no, this isn't right, and we need to fight. and we do have rights, and we have a beautiful nation that is worth fighting for, and our patients are worth fighting
Well, and
for.
you did fight. So they passed this bill, Senate Bill 23190 in 2023, and it makes your means of practicing much of it a crime. And this is the same legislature, by the way, that has passed a right to try law so that you can try almost any medication available if you're an adult and you need it to save your life, no questions asked.
Yep.
This is the same legislature that has decriminalized, while criminalizing what you did to save Finn. This is the same legislature that decriminalized fentanyl
Yep.
and all other Schedule I illicit drugs, causing us to be have the second highest overdose rate among teenagers in the country. This seems to be a pro-death legislature. I think that's very clear. So all drugs are okay. Anything goes, illicit street drugs, anything you can try to save your life, except for progesterone, a common drug, when it's used for this purpose.
Yes, a natural hormone.
And you fought. So you fought, and then United States District Judge Dede Domenico, he was going to hear the case, but in the meantime, he gave you an injunction so that you could continue your practice, even though this law was now on the books, signed into law.
Correct. We
So
received
you
a
are the
temporary.
only clinic in Colorado that could continue practicing this way because you got an injunction.
Yes.
Okay. And Judge Domenico says in his ruling, just the reason we have you in here right now, of course, is because Judge Domenico struck down this law last week as it pertains to you, not to the rest of the state, but to your clinic.
Correct.
He was sort of limited in what he could do, and we'll talk about that a little more. And I want to talk about that with Lewis, who's an attorney who's been on this ride with you for quite some time. You were able to practice the way you practice with the injunction, and now last week he said you can continue to. This law does not apply to you.
Correct.
And he said in his ruling that 11 babies have been born since the filing of this case after their mothers received the medication abortion reversal treatment. Multiple patients who received abortion pill reversal treatment at Bella are maintaining healthy pregnancies and are expected to give birth later this year. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he says that this law was written in a discriminatory way because it only pertains to use of progesterone to try to save an unborn child's life. And he clearly states in here that plaintiff's use of progesterone is not being regulated neutrally. It is being singled out.
Correct.
That's how much of an agenda
Mhm.
this left-wing legislature has to terminate pregnancies, to cause abortions. They fund abortion. They fund everything up to and including the ride to and from an abortion clinic in Colorado is free. Try bringing a baby to labor and delivery, and it's even if you're well insured, it's usually going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So that's how anti-life Colorado has become. Young life is not safe in Colorado. But tell me how many lives have actually been saved as a result of this injunction that you enjoy, but none of the other health clinics do.
So actually, from the time that the law was written into law on that day, that morning, actually, we had a woman come seeking abortion pill reversal. But since the time of the law until now, as Judge Domenico said, we have a flurry of births right now. So that number has actually even changed since he wrote that. But we've had 16 births, and this is just to Bella. We have many women who come from somewhere else to receive abortion pill reversal, and then they may return to their own OBGYN, especially if they've driven from some distance. But nonetheless, the babies that we know of, we have 16 live births. We have 10 women pregnant right now who will give birth. So 10 women with healthy pregnancies. So just since the law went into effect, that will be, actually we have 11 pregnant women now. Sorry, that will be 27 lives, 27 children. And, we take care of lots of people. This is the tiniest thing we do. But if we think about what is the value of a life and what one person positively affecting another person or 5 people and how those people affect others, we can't exponentially even imagine what it looks like from one life. And so though this is one of the smallest things we do, the idea that the state, like you said, could not, I mean, you could say pro-death and in a podcast or on TV or in the legislative sessions, maybe that just kind of flows past. But when I think about a woman who has done something that she regrets, we all make mistakes. We all deserve do-overs. But when I think of a woman who has made a decision, a life-changing decision, a decision that will change many, many lives beyond just that one life. But when she's made that decision and she stands in front of me, tears flowing from her eyes, saying, I made a mistake. Will you help me save my baby? And our state says, no, we're not gonna make that. We're not gonna even allow that. And so from my standpoint, we talk about that culture of death, yes, but it's just plain cruel.
It is,
It's cruelty.
We've gone from we need abortion rights so that a woman has a right to choose. Okay, and we can all debate whether that's a good idea or not. We all have different opinions on that. I suspect we all share the same opinion in this room right now, but society can have an honest debate about that. This has gone from pro-choice to pro-abortion. We want abortions. We will pay for them. We will outlaw any effort to reverse one that is in its early stages. How did we get there? What is the possible motivation for a legislature and a governor who thinks that we need more children in Colorado to sign a bill that is actually pro-abortion and anti-choice? How did we get here?
I don't know. And I don't know what people think or exact. I mean, you are far more privy on the political scene than I am. But what I do know is that we were in that time when testimonies were coming forth for the House and the Senate before this bill was passed. It was introduced, I believe, through the Senate. But I can't remember which one of the senators or legislators said it. But they said, we will write laws in this state that will teach the nation how to write a law that cannot be overturned regarding abortion. That was specific. We will write abortion laws that will not be overturned, and will teach the nation how to do that.
And we are certainly trying to lead the way in that in Colorado.
Right.
The most dangerous state in the country, I think, for an unborn child is Colorado. It's even worse than California.
Yes.
Where at least if a drunk crosses a center line or your boyfriend stabs you or whatever happens that where an unborn child dies, at least it's a crime in California. It's not really here.
Right. But praise God that we do have all of these beautiful babies, and praise God we have little kids like Finn who just bring light to the world.
Thank God for him. Thank you for bringing him in. Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks a lot,
And
Wayne.
congratulations on your miracle baby.
Thank you.
He is beautiful.
He's my best friend. I love him.
All right.
He's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
At Integrity Bank and Trust, integrity is more than a name. It's a way of doing business. My family does business there, and I can tell you they are the friendliest and easiest we have worked with over decades as entrepreneurs and small business owners. Integrity's expert and friendly personnel offer home loans, treasury management, personal banking, and other services for every stage of life. Integrity puts customers first, living up to its name. Lewis Brown Jr. has come down to talk with us. Lewis is a friend of mine, and he just moved to the Denver area from Washington, D.C. not too long ago. And I was at one of his children's baptisms a few weeks ago. And Lewis is an attorney. You are a graduate of Catholic University School of Law, I believe.
Howard University.
Howard
Yes,
University.
yes,
School
same
of
city
Law.
though. Yeah.
But didn't you have some affiliation with Catholic
Yes,
University?
I've been blessed to serve as a law lecturer, the equivalent of a adjunct law professor at the law school at Catholic U.
Okay.
For the last few years. I've taught a course actually kind of on this issue called Human Dignity and Religious Freedom in Healthcare, where we teach law students about healthcare, but from a human dignity perspective for 2 semesters there. So it's been a real privilege and very pertinent to this discussion.
Yes. Okay. So you're very familiar with Finn and Dede, Finn's mom, Fallon, and everything that they've been through, and
Mhm.
also this Colorado law passed in 2023. I'd like to get some of your legal perspective on that.
Sure.
Having this law it wasn't overturned by any means, but Judge Domenico, U.S. District Court judge in Denver, said that Bella Health Clinic can continue doing this despite the law that says this is an illegal practice.
Yeah, I really think that this Colorado law that was passed and signed by the governor is just really, truly unjust. It's really immoral. And it's an affront against women. It's an affront against unborn children, but it's also an affront against medical professionals who just want to save and care for and serve the dignity of women, the dignity of unborn children, the dignity of families. And it really unveils the reality of the radical pro-abortion extremism, unfortunately, in the state of Colorado.
Yes, because Colorado allows abortion, even I would argue that it even allows abortion after labor and delivery, the way the law is written.
Sure,
And
it's unconscionable.
yeah, and it pays for these abortions. Now, anyone can have their view on whether there should be abortion rights or there shouldn't be abortion rights, but in Colorado, it's not only a right; it is a sacred. It is a sacred right. It is something where the state will pay for your transportation to and from the abortion clinic. They will pay for the abortion, no questions asked, anytime for any reason. So,
Yeah, no, agreed. This law is a real tragedy. You know, it used to be that the country, states like Colorado had some level of an agreement that we'll agree to disagree on the issue of abortion. That I'm very pro-life. I think abortion is, it's clearly scientifically, regardless of one's religious views, from a simple biological scientific perspective, life starts at conception and goes until natural death. It's just there's a clear scientific, biological, medical reality there. So I'm very pro-life, but
it seems an easy one to believe too. I mean, lives begin and they end, and an oak tree begins as an acorn that germinates and then it dies at some point hundreds of years later.
That's right.
There's not an in between there.
Right. That's right.
Life sort of began after it began. It just doesn't work scientifically. You don't have to be a scientist to understand.
No,
that.
Totally. And you hear scientists and astronomers talk about, well, is there life on Mars? And is there life on this planet? Is there life on that planet? But we can't accept the scientific biological reality of unborn life,
Right.
And it's a tragedy.
And we can have an honest debate about where rights begin.
Sure.
Maybe an unborn life, human life, has no rights, and you want to take that position. At least that's one you can defend honestly. But they don't take that position. They'd rather go with, well, it's not a life to begin with.
Right. And I think that, again, I'm pro-life from conception to natural death. But, for the country and as we as a country, as a pluralistic country, in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, going back to the 70s, for decades, we just had an agreement, that there's going to be no public funding of abortion, that we're not going to coerce medical professionals and medical institutions to perform abortions.
Right. Settled that.
The Hyde Amendment, which was signed into law by Democratic and Republican presidents, supported by Republicans and Democrats for decades. We as a country had an agreement. We're not going to publicly fund abortion. We're not going to coerce medical professionals to perform abortions, and we're certainly not going to coerce women to have abortions. And then you have what's happened over the last several years and what's happened in Colorado, where they pass a state law that's still in effect that essentially says to women, if you change your mind after having a chemical abortion, too bad, too sad. We're effectively going to force you to go through with the abortion anyway. We're not even going to allow you to save your child. You are done, and your child is done. That's essentially what the state law says. It's a clear violation of the constitutional rights of religious freedom under the First Amendment for medical professionals in the state. But I also think it really violates the conscience and religious liberty rights of women, and also the dignity that they have to make decisions about the medical interventions they want to save the life of their own child, and to also protect their own dignity as well.
So Judge Domenico agrees with you to an extent.
Right, at least as to the law being a violation of the constitutional right of religious liberty and the ability for Bella Health and Wellness and other medical professionals, but at least in this case, Bella Health and Wellness, to exercise their religion, which says we're going to protect unborn children, we're going to protect women, and we're going to perform abortion pill reversal. And we just had this amazing young boy, Finn, and his amazing mother, Fallon, who shows you the love, the dignity that is supported at Bella Health and Wellness, and shows you a courageous mother, a courageous woman who fought for the life of her unborn son and has really gone through a resurrection. And they're a living testament to the dignity of the human person, to the freedom of women to choose life, and to the amazing work that Bella Health and Wellness is doing in Inglewood. I live in Inglewood. I'm blessed to be on the board at Bella Health and Wellness and see what they do. The way they love and care for women and children is unbelievable. And I think they're really a flagship for medical care done well, not just in Colorado. It's the best primary care in Colorado, but I would say in the country.
Okay. Now, what Fallon did to save Finn would, unless a woman stumbles across Bella Health, anywhere else in Colorado, what Fallon did would be a crime, and the healthcare provider that helped her make that choice would be a criminal.
Well, it would be unlawful, right?
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I mean, it's praise God that Judge Domenico did what he did and issued this preliminary injunction because the law would unduly burden the religious exercise of Bella Health and Wellness and Dede Chism and their amazing team of medical professionals. So praise God for that. It was the right decision. Clearly, the law violates the First Amendment rights of medical professionals like Bella Health and Wellness and others in the state of Colorado. But that's not enough. The law is still in force as to other medical professionals, and it's impacting women in some form or fashion across the state if they get pregnant and take, unfortunately, God forbid, take mifepristone but then, God willing, change their minds. It's still a real problem. Not only are they pushing abortion, Wayne, but they're saying if to women, if you change your mind, we will not support you saving the life of your child. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I like that the judge ruled the way he did. That's great, and he used religious liberty to justify it in part. But I also think this is really a major civil rights issue.
That's right.
Pertaining to the right of a woman to make a choice about her body and the right of a woman to, we always hear that a woman has all these rights over her body, although that's not entirely true. In most states, a woman cannot decide to ingest a Schedule I drug without a prescription, which none of them have a prescription. So we don't really have a full right. A woman doesn't have a full right to her body to do anything. But in Colorado, we've been told that in terms of abortion, full right. But they don't have this right. And if you're in Grand Junction, you're 4 or 5 hours from Inglewood. You don't have a right to go get this done unless you're a person of means.
Yeah, I've always believed, Wayne, as long as I've been highly engaged and I'm I went to Howard Law School to be a civil rights attorney, and by God's grace, I've been able to focus my work on healthcare law, healthcare policy, civil rights law, civil rights enforcement, with a particular focus on healthcare, civil rights, religious liberty, protecting the dignity of the poor and the vulnerable from conception to natural death, whether they're unborn or patients with disabilities, the aged, the elderly, people who are underserved, and all of that. So I have a real passion for that. And I firmly believe that individuals, men, women, children, have a right to choose their own medical interventions as long as it's consistent with the dignity of the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this law just is a total affront to the lie that I think the left wants to say about bodily autonomy, and they're not really interested in that. On a certain level, those that support these kind of laws are really, they're espousing bodily autonomy, but really they're espousing, in truth, a throwaway culture, an abortive mindset that says that unless you're planned, unless you're wanted, unless you're desirable, you can be discarded, and we will help you do that. And I think that's a tragedy.
Doesn't it seem like an extraordinary contradiction that this state allows you to do almost anything? It
Mhm.
allows you
Yeah.
to, it's not a crime, it's not a serious crime anymore to deal in deadly drugs.
Mhm.
And so we have a very, very high mortality rate in terms of overdoses, particularly with teenagers. We're second in the country. Next year, I predict we'll be the first. We have a right to choose law where if you've been given a deadly diagnosis, you can try almost any experimental drug, no questions asked, to try to save your life.
Sure.
Yet, and we use progesterone for all sorts of things,
Right.
including
No,
these
right. As the judge's
juvenile
opinion
sex
showed,
changes.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Juvenile, what they call gender transition.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't do this anywhere except Bella Health now in Colorado.
Right.
Isn't that just a glaring contradiction?
No, it's a total contradiction. I mean, I think that, you're always hearing from the pro-abortion lobby, pro-abortion advocates, it's all about bodily autonomy, bodily autonomy, bodily autonomy. And yes, 100% agree that, from the prism of human dignity, protecting the dignity of every human person, patients, women absolutely should have the right to determine their own medical interventions. But in this case, when we're talking about abortion, it's not just the life, the dignity, and the autonomy of the woman, but it's also the life, the dignity, the autonomy of the unborn child at the same time. So you're dealing with two lives, right?
Right.
That's number one. But number two, even if you take the false premise that there's absolute bodily autonomy, which I disagree with. I don't believe in assisted suicide. I don't believe in abortion and those of that nature. We don't want people just taking their own lives or taking the lives of their unborn children, et cetera. Even if you believe that false premise, Wayne, they're completely contradicting themselves here, because they're essentially saying those that espouse this law, the pro-abortion lobby that espouse this law, are essentially saying, we support bodily autonomy unless you want to save your unborn child. And it shows their dedication to this unholy, evil sacrament of abortion.
So you've just pointed out a real contradiction
Mhm.
in Colorado law
Right.
and the politics that lead to those laws.
Right.
Do you have any opinions as to why, how we got here? What is the motivation? Is it money? What is the reason that we want all of this bodily autonomy? Unless you change your mind about killing an unborn child, then you have none.
Yeah. A couple thoughts and just my perspective. I originally grew up in the Midwest, and I'm Catholic, thanks be to God.
What part of the Midwest?
Detroit area.
Okay.
Yeah. And was raised with a strong dedication and commitment to social justice. Just made sense. Multiple members of my family were in some type of labor union. I had some basic understanding that there was a big fight over supporting and protecting the right of workers to collectively bargain in Poland. Was a huge fan of John Paul II, had some loose understanding of the solidarity movement coming up and going into college and things like that, and saw how much collective bargaining, workers' rights, the dignity of the person did for families that really just flourished, particularly in the Midwest, but I also think places like Colorado and other places in the country. And so saw how, hey, let's support and protect the poor and the vulnerable, and also just love the civil rights movement, which I benefited from growing up in the 80s and 90s, which really changed America in a very positive way. And so I wanted to go to Howard Law School because that was effectively the birthplace of the American legal civil rights movement. A couple years after law school, about a year after law school or so, I was going to do voter registration in a working class or poor area in Detroit. And on the way there, I believe, as I recall, it was a Sunday, a friend of mine called me and we started talking about the video of a silent scream. Which
I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an ultrasound of an abortion. And as the baby's about to be killed, the baby's mouth opens and it looks like the baby's screaming, but you can't hear a sound. And so they call it the silent scream. And I'd always been pro-life up to that point, but I had never thought of abortion as an actual intentional killing of an unborn child. And as someone that had spent my college years, my law school years, and, at that point, my brief time just as a practicing lawyer, just spending time, I was on my way to do voter registration, right? And in an urban area, right? Dedicated to voting rights and non-discrimination and protecting all of these different civil rights and human rights we have. That was why I became a lawyer. Over time, I realized if we don't protect the right to life, all these other civil rights that we believe in, all these other human rights that we believe in collapse. And where we're coming with on abortion is it's really a culture of selfishness, unfortunately. The abortion movement, as we know, largely started with Planned Parenthood, and it started with a horrible activist who was really committed to the eugenicist movement, and a desire to rid the country in the early 20th century of undesirables, very particularly including African Americans, to say that this country, the theory of the case, of the culture of death, of this throwaway mindset that we have in healthcare, is that healthcare and civil society and our Republican form of government is only for some people. It's only for those that are privileged. It's only for those that are wealthy. It's only for those that are planned. It's only for those that are productive.
And can vote and can pay taxes.
That's right. And over time, that racist eugenicist movement, started by Margaret Sanger.
Right. She started the Negro Project.
Yeah.
So that we would have fewer, in her terms, Negroes born. And that then transitioned into Planned Parenthood eventually.
That's right. And that disease of abortion and that throwaway mindset that was racist in its origin grew and grew and grew and metastasized, I like to say, in different places, like a cancer into the culture. And essentially said that some people can be thrown away. Some people can be discarded. Some people don't have value. So it started with, in this case, unborn children, that some certain unborn children from certain groups of people that are undesirable don't have any value. Let's discard them. But it's grown into a whole issue of a sense of euthanasia in the healthcare system that is very rampant. That again, certain people in certain times and certain conditions can just be discarded. At a certain level, some folks just lose their dignity and we can get rid of them. And so that's why we have had over 60 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. A disproportionate number of those have been African American. We've lost over 16 million lives. I believe that every life matters. Every life matters. All times, all seasons. You never lose your dignity. And so, of course, we are, as a person committed to the pro-life movement, as a person that's committed to the dignity of every person, we're concerned about, poor folks living on the streets that may be addicted down on 16th Street Mall. We're concerned about immigrants that have, worked hard and come here and what happens to them. We're concerned about workers that are struggling with affordability issues in the state of Colorado. We're concerned about single moms and all that. But we're also first concerned with the right to life and unborn children. I'm concerned about police brutality and the impact that's had, particularly on racial minorities. But if we're concerned about all that, why aren't we concerned about the 16 million African American lives that are projected to have been lost since abortion? That outnumbers every single thing, every other societal ill. Why aren't we concerned about the 60 million unborn children and millions of pregnant mothers that have been victimized by the violence of abortion? And so I think that's what you see here is this throwaway culture where we just don't care about human dignity, and it's all about bodily autonomy. It's all about autonomy, doing whatever I want, whenever I want, regardless of the consequences to me, to my family, to my children, and to others around me. And that's something we have to work on.
And then we'll make a huge exception to that philosophy, that ideology, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to, I regret having taken an abortion pill.
Right.
all because they
Right,
want
right,
the abortion
right,
to
because it's
occur.
all about abortion, right? And so it's
It's
uh,
gone from being a right to being a good thing.
right, right. That's right. That's right. And so I hope that um, there's an opportunity in Colorado to tell people more about Fallon's story and about Finn's story and about the beautiful life that has been protected and saved by abortion pill reversal. To tell people about the amazing work that Bella Health and Wellness is doing to protect, save, and serve lives. My wife and son were served. He was delivered 3 months ago by Bella
Beautiful
Health and
baby.
Wellness. Thanks. And I was concerned about the pregnancy for a couple different reasons, but they loved us. We went to Swedish Hospital and outside of Denver and Inglewood, and I'm 43 years old. I have never experienced more love as through that process of being a father whose son was about to be delivered than I have from Bella Health and Wellness. Unlike anything else, I think in the country in healthcare.
Judge Domenico's decision allows Bella Health to continue doing what they do, saving lives such as Finn's life. And I would say the mother's life as well. I don't think she'd had a very good life if she'd have gone through with that. But this only applies to Bella Health.
Mm-hmm.
You being a legal expert who went to Howard University, a historically Black university,
Right,
very dedicated to civil
right,
rights.
right.
Okay. Do you think it's okay that we now have a ruling from a federal judge that says Bella Health can do this, but the law stands for all other medical providers in Colorado? Or is this going to become equal application of the law?
Sure. I think Judge Domenico issued a really good decision, and I'm super grateful for it. And it's important, as we talked about, the Colorado law clearly violates the First Amendment uh, religious freedom clause that protects the religious exercise of everybody against unjust government action that unduly burdens religious exercise. So that's a huge victory. And the law also just really violates medical conscience rights. My sense is that there is a new recognition that larger injunctions since the Supreme Court decision, some that you know the judiciary has an important role, but there's a humility that the Supreme Court has kind of recaptured with the judiciary to, in some sense, stay in that area that they have under Article 3 of the Constitution. And so I think the judge is showing a sensitivity there and limiting the ruling. But nonetheless, my hope is that over time, that the people of Colorado will see uh, this law that effectively bans abortion pill reversal for what it is, which is a unjust, immoral violation of the basic civil rights of patients and medical professionals in the state of Colorado, number one. Number two, my hope is that this amazing story that we were blessed to hear, I've heard it before, but here again, and so many other stories like it can be told in Colorado about the beauty of what it looks like to have a culture of love and justice and life in Colorado that's being built at Bella Health and Wellness. And then number three, I hope ultimately either at the Court of Appeals level, because this is not just happening in Colorado, as we were talking early on the way down here, it's happening in at least two other states, that either at the Court of Appeals level or perhaps at the Supreme Court level, that ultimately this Colorado law will be overturned for being the unconstitutional law that it is, for violating the First Amendment religious freedom rights of medical professionals and patients, but also just violating the civil rights of patients and particularly of women to be able to choose medical interventions that are consistent with the sanctity and the dignity of the human person, consistent with their dignity as women, as mothers, to save their their unborn children, and to raise their children in love and in community the way that Fallon and Finn are. There are, as we were talking on the way down here, there are thousands and over time millions of Fallon and Finns in Colorado, and we need to love them protect them, protect their human dignity and their civil rights, and make sure that the state is getting off their backs.
Okay. So you could see this where we could get conflicting. I assume the state is going to appeal this ruling.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
They risk if they do that.
They do.
This goes all the way to the
I
Supreme
think the existing Supreme Court, and again, I'm not an attorney representing Bella, but
Sure.
just a lawyer that's heavily in healthcare and also in the civil rights area and religious liberty. I think that this case is so clearly the state law is so clearly unconstitutional that I think it would have a outstanding shot of this law being overturned at the Supreme Court level.
It's flagrantly unconstitutional.
Yeah, it's just not even.
just politics.
It's not close. And then particularly the judge talks in the opinion about a certain level of. He doesn't use the word hostility, but he talks about how there's a real focus on burdening, pro-life nonprofits, ministries. He doesn't use exactly that language, but that's essentially what he talks about. They were really coming after, I think, in this law, largely Christian-based pro-life nonprofits, ministries, and particularly medical clinics like Bella.
Okay. Thank you, Louis. Really appreciate you coming down to the studio
Pleasure to be
today, and good to see you again.
Great to see you.
All right.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks.